Here is a kernel of wisdom. According to the biblical story, Solomon was called upon to settle a quarrel between the claims of two prostitutes who dwelt in one house. Each of whom had given birth to a child at the same time. One infant had died, and each woman then claimed that the other belonged to her. To determine the truth, the king ordered a sword to be brought, saying, "Cut the living child in two equal parts, and give half to one and half to the other." The true mother, apt to reveal herself, renounced her claim to the child in order that its life might be spared. Thus the child was not divided, and was restored to her. The court couldn't agree more with the king and his wise settling of the quarrel. Divided, quarrel, agree, thus, settle, settling, kernel, equal, apt, parts. These are the new vocabulary words we will be learning in today's lesson. Hello, welcome back to McGuffey's online tutor. Today's lesson is part 2 from McGuffey's second Eclectic reader, the revised edition. Lesson 20, the quarrel. Divided has 3 syllables, with the emphasis being on the second syllable. Divided. Divided means separated or to be separated into parts. He took the nut and broke the shell, and divided the shell into 2 parts, as nearly equal as he could. Quarrel. Quarrel has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the first syllable. Quarrel. Quarrel means an angry argument or disagreement. Thus, they at once began to quarrel about the nut. Agree has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the second syllable. Agree. Agree means to have the same opinion about something. Thus has 1 syllable. Thus. Thus means as a result or consequence of this. Thus they at once began to quarrel. Settle has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the first syllable. Settle. Settle means to resolve or reach an agreement about an argument or problem. I will settle this quarrel. Settling has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the first syllable. Settling. Settling means resolving or reaching an agreement. Kernel has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the first syllable. Kernel. Kernel means a softer, usually edible part of a nut, seed, or fruit stone contained within its shell. Equal has 2 syllables, with the emphasis being on the first syllable. Equal. Equal means being the same in quantity, size, degree, or value. He took the nut and broke the shell, and divided the shell into 2 parts, as nearly equal as he could. Apt has 1 syllable. Apt. Apt means appropriate or suitable in the circumstances. Parts has 1 syllable. Parts. Parts means amounts or sections, which when combined with others, makes up the whole of something. The walnut tree is one of many nut trees. The walnut tree consists of branches, leaves, loom, fruit, and of course a hull. In case you did not know, the hull is the green outer skin that protects the whole walnut from weather and ground impact. We have various nut plants. We have the coconut tree, which is famous in Indonesia. We have the hazelnut, which is famous in Turkey. The macadamia nut, which grows mainly in Australia. The peanut, which is largely produced in China. The pine nut, which grows throughout the world. And lastly, we have the pecan nut, which grows mainly in Mexico and southern United States. The largest country that produces walnuts is none other than China. Let's read the story. The Quarrel. Under a great tree in the woods, two boys saw a fine, large nut, and both ran to get it. James got to it first and picked it up. "It is mine," said John, "for I was the first to see it." "No, it is mine," said James, "for I was the first to pick it up." Thus, they at once began to quarrel about the nut. As they could not agree whose it should be, they called an older boy and asked him. The older boy said, "I will settle this quarrel." He took the nut and broke the shell. He then took out the kernel and divided the shell into two parts, as nearly equal as he could. "This half of the shell," said he, "belongs to the boy who first saw the nut, and this half belongs to the boy who picked it up. The kernel of the nut I shall keep as my pay for settling the quarrel." "This is the way," said he, laughing, "in which quarrels are very apt to end." So you see, the moral of the story is this: should you require assistance for any form of problem, there is always a cost. In this case, it was the kernel. The kernel was the payment to the older boy for settling the quarrel. In life, it is no different. Should you come across problems or troubles, the justice system will require a payment, a restitution. Well, this is the end of our lesson. Thanks for visiting McGuffey'sOnlineTutor.com. Peace be with you. See you soon.